the Jewish state to bring. And now in other news, as Israel and the Jewish world face growing divisions, a new program is using conversations about the Jewish state to bring people together. Created by senior Rabbi Erez Sherman of the Sinai Temple in Los Angeles, a well-known conservative synagogue, and with support from Jewish National Fund USA's Borishin Center and others, the Israel Fellowship is bringing rabbinical students from across the religious spectrum together for conversations about the future of Zionism and of Israel. And so joining me now from California is Rabbi Erez Sherman, along with rabbinical students Tori, Greene, and Max Hollander of the Reform and Orthodox movements, respectively. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
So my first question is for you, Rabbi Sherman. Most people would assume that Israel or subjects about Israel form sort of a core component of American rabbinical curriculums. But to my understanding, this is actually not the case?
So it is the case that Israel, as I learned at the Jewish Theological Seminary, God, Torah, and Israel, those are our three topics that define who we are as Jews. But what I saw within the last decade or so was that there are so much that needs to be covered, that what could we at Sinai Temple Israel Center provide that will supplement what is already happening. And the thing that I think was missing was that we were in our bubbles, our ivory towers, wonderful academic institutions, but not having the conversation across the denominations. And so when I look at my two new friends and students and future colleagues of Max and Tori, I see what happened on a bus in Israel with seminars before and now seminars after, and what's happening in Israel today, that based on our education that we have provided these students, we have provided not answers, but a model of discourse that can be followed for the future that will allow not oneness, because I'm not looking for oneness, I'm looking for diversity of opinions at the same table. And I believe that in year one we have achieved the goals for that model.
And Tori, can you share what inspired you to take part in this fellowship?
Yeah, so I am largely involved in the Israel conversation. I have an Instagram account, Divrei Tori, where I educate on Israel and Judaism. And also my Jewish upbringing has been cross-movemental, which is to say that I was a Hebrew school dropout growing up. And then when I went to college, I got really involved with Chabad on campus. And then I got involved with a more pluralist Jewish story and engagement. And now I'm at a Reform institution. And so for me, it is a priority to be a seam sitter, to be talking across the movements, across different Jewish opinions and understandings. And so the opportunity that was like the intention of this fellowship felt very aligned for me. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to be in that space where I knew that we were going to be building cohorts across movements.
Mm-hmm. And Max, turning now to you with regards to your rabbinical studies. I mean, given everything taking place in Israel right now, do you feel like having conversations about Israel, even with people from different denominations, is still important?
Well, personally, I can't really imagine a time where it would be more important than right now to encourage and facilitate dialogue between denominations. I think that the world that we all want and hope for is one that's built upon dialogue. And whether we like it or not, this is going to be a huge part of world Jewry and like every Jew's personal identity. And I think that a lot of people are also looking at Jews and asking us to have, or demanding that most Jews have an opinion, definitely here in the States. And I think that the best way to really confront that situation and answer those questions is with a united front. I think that to not have dialogue between denominations is to end or completely cut off any level of understanding between different denominations and different groups. And we have different opinions and we all have different perspectives to add to the situation. And I think that the only way that the situation could come even close to some sort of happy compromise is when everybody has something to say and is heard and listened to.
And, finally, Rabbi Sherman, turning back to you, I believe your Israel Fellowship has really captured the interest of some prominent backers. I mean, why do you feel that this program has sort of gained so much interest or captured the imagination of the philanthropic community?
When I asked the funders, who I just want to give a gratitude to the Paulie Singer Foundation, to JNF USA and the Baruchon Fund, to the Michael and Lisa LaFell Foundation, and to our Sinai Temple Israel Center, they asked me, why would an Orthodox and Reform student come on ILTV one day and speak to each other? And when I asked Rabbi Wolpe, my senior rabbi at the time, he said, we're not going to talk about Shabbat observance, we're not going to talk about halakha and tefillah or kashrut, but the one thing that you can actually be at the table and talk about is Israel. And that was before we started, and I watched it on our first night in Israel when our tour educator, Yisrael Klitzner, said, say one word that you're feeling, and most people said nervous. And then the last day he said, revisit that word, and what are you feeling now? And most people said excited for the future. There are challenges, we're not going to ignore them, but you can only not ignore the challenges by in fact sitting at the table. When you look at our WhatsApp group of our trip right now, it's not saying kumbaya, we're all saying the same thing, we're having a conversation. I'm so grateful for that WhatsApp group, that it's not tweets and Facebook posts, but it's real intelligent conversation, asking each other, what united front, as Max said, should we present? What is happening in reforms? We now have a cohort of thinkers that are able to say, this is what we want to be a part of. And so for these major foundations all to say to a synagogue, which is the revolutionary part, what can we do to create that table of diverse opinions? Sinai Temple Israel Center was able to be at the forefront, and we're excited to bring these schools, institutions, students, and future colleagues together.
Absolutely, and bringing people together and facilitating conversations is more important today than ever. Thank you all so much for taking the time to speak with us today.